What's going on, guys? I'm Jim. Today's Thursday, April 23rd, and we're going to be talking about the cancellation of rent and mortgages. And for the average person, that's their biggest monthly expense, so why not just get rid of it? This is exactly what Ilhan Omar is proposing to do. It's called the Rent and Mortgage Cancellation Act, and it would do exactly what it says in the title. Cancel all rent and mortgages for an entire year. So in this video, I'm going to break down this entire bill, see what it's all about, give you my honest opinion, and we're also going to compare it to the $2,000 monthly stimulus. So sit back, relax, and smash the like button for the YouTube algorithm. This way others can find out about this as well. So in this new bill that's being proposed, it's going to institute cancellation of nationwide residential rent and mortgages. This means that you would not have to pay your rent or your mortgage for an entire year starting in April 2020. So if you've already paid those, you'll be then reimbursed. And the reason for doing this is because a lot of people are falling behind on their payments, mortgage forbearance is at an extreme, and also we have no idea how long this thing is going to go on for. And that's the reality of it, and we don't know what's to come in the future. Things are going to get harder, things are going to get worse before they get better. So it's clear we have no idea what the long-term effect is going to be like. So as far as eligibility goes, what makes you qualify for this? Well, it's really simple, guys. You gotta be a US citizen, you gotta have rent to pay or a mortgage to pay. Yep, that's right. Anyone in the United States is eligible for this. It doesn't matter how much money you make, how old you are. If you're paying rent or a mortgage, then you qualify. Simple, simple. Let's first go over what this means for rent payers. So your rent gets canceled for 1 year on your primary residence. Canceled means canceled, so you don't have to pay this back. You won't accumulate any debt over this, and it will not negatively impact your credit score. Now, if you're a homeowner with a mortgage, just like the renter, your mortgages will be canceled for an entire year and you do not have to pay them back. This only applies to your primary residence. You won't get foreclosed on, you won't collect any fees or debt, and will not impact your credit score at all. So this sounds really good, right? But what about the landlords who make a living off people's rent? What are they supposed to do? Well, this bill has your back, guys, because I'm one of them. I own my own rental property and I rely on that income coming in every single month. But this bill says that we will be reimbursed by the government in return. So it works out pretty good. I mean, I know it's going to help out my tenants tremendously, and it's also going to help out me because I'll still be getting my check and they get a break. So all is well, right? As long as we cover all the bases, the landlords still get their money, what can go wrong? Well, if you're a landlord, in order to receive these payments, you have to follow some guidelines. They're going to be subject to a 5-year rent freeze, which means they cannot raise their rent for the next 5 years if they accept the funds. You can't evict your tenants under just cause reasons, and you cannot discriminate on how they make their money. You also have to make your properties available to government assistance programs like Section 8 when your property is vacant. And finally, if you choose to take the funds, you can only receive the amount of the rent before the disaster happened. Now, what about the lenders who are no longer getting their mortgage payments in? Well, that's also covered in the bill. Basically says that they will be reimbursed for the money that they haven't gotten, just like the landlord. So far, it sounds like a pretty good idea, right? But at what cost? And how does this compare to the $2,000 per month stimulus that's also been proposed? Well, the cost and a budget for this kind of a plan is not yet determined, and there's a lot of factors that come into play, but I'm pretty sure we could come up with a good estimate of an idea of what this could look like. So as of 2018, there's 138 million homes in the United States. According to the US Census Bureau, the home ownership rate is 65%, meaning 65% of the homes are owned by their occupants. That means there's 90 million homes in the United States that are owned by the people living in them. Now, about 40% of homes are already paid off and debt-free, so 60% still have mortgages. 60% of 90 million houses means that there are still 54 million houses out there that still have to pay a mortgage. Now, according to our friend Dave Ramsey, the average mortgage payment in the US is around $1,500. So if we go ahead and do the math, 54 million homes that still have a mortgage to pay and $1,500 in average rent costs, that equals about $81 billion every single month, or $972 billion for the year. Now, what about the renters? In 2018, there were approximately 43 million housing units occupied by renters, and the average cost of rent is $1,405. So if you do the math on that one, it comes out to $60 billion every single month, or $725 billion for the year. Now remember, these numbers are just averages. There are also some other stipulations in the bill that says if you own a house and you rent a place, you can't apply this to both. You can only pick one. And I may have mentioned before, primary residence only. So if you have multiple houses, then this can't apply to all your homes, only your primary residence. So you could say there's going to be some wiggle room in this, but just for average's sakes, this is going to cost around $141 billion per month or $1.7 trillion for the year. So this is a lot of money, but how does this compare to the $2,000 per month stimulus package that's also proposed? In my other video about that, I broke down the cost just like I did for you guys here. So if you want it, just click the link above right here or wait till the end of the video and I'll have it up on the suggested videos. You can click on it right there. The average number I came up with for the $2,000 a month stimulus was $470 billion per month. And if we went for the full year, you're looking at $5.6 trillion. So it's clear that there's a huge difference between these two plans, right? And it probably makes sense that the cancel rent and mortgages is the winner since it costs so much less money. But you gotta remember, the reason why it costs less money is because it's benefiting less people. What happens to the people who worked hard their whole entire life, saved, and paid off their mortgage? How do they benefit from this? They don't, and that's a problem I see with this thing. Another thing to point out is if you have a 15-year mortgage, then you're gonna be benefiting way more than somebody with a 30-year mortgage, right? And that kind of seems unfair. Even if the house is the same amount of money, your 15-year mortgage payment is more expensive than your 30-year mortgage payment, which means you're gonna be saving more money if you have a 15-year payment. So some people are seeing this as an issue and unfair, which I think it is, but the main goal here is to just cancel it altogether, put a freeze on it, pretend like it never happened, and walk away. It's not really to give you a discount in a sense, it's more to like lighten the load of your bills so you can survive. Another problem I see with this is even though this bill will protect landlords in still getting the rent checks every month, the problem is afterwards you're then locked into a 5-year rent freeze, which means you're not able to increase your rent amount. Sounds good for the renters, but not so much for the landlords. The problem is when your expenses go up and you're charging the same amount for rent that you did 5 years ago, you're now losing money on your income. But if this bill does go through, landlords don't really have a choice. Otherwise, they won't get any income for 12 months. I think it's safe to say that there's a lot of holes in this bill and we still have a lot of unanswered questions. However, what we do know in the near future as time goes on, things are gonna get worse and worse, and we can expect to see more and more stimulus package like this being proposed. Not becoming a real thing, just being proposed. It's clear that the $1,200 stimulus was needed, however, it wasn't enough, and that thing has its own issues right now. I'm just not so sure on this as a solution. You know, comparing it to the $2,000 a month stimulus, why does it have to be locked into any sort of time frame? Why do we have to be locked in at a year? Why doesn't it go by a as needed basis? Once a month? Also, what about the 22 million people currently claiming unemployment? And some of them bringing in more money right now than they usually do when they're working their normal job. Do they benefit from this? Why would they? What about the people who are still working and bringing in a paycheck and they haven't had problems paying their bills? Are they gonna get this benefit too? Here's the deal. These stimulus packages are supposed to be meant to provide aid and support for people who are in desperate need. So there are a lot of things that have to be worked out in this deal before it becomes a legitimate thing. To me, it seems like something that's kind of just too good to be true scenario, and the person proposing ideas like this are just trying to stir up attention and gain popularity out of this, but that's just my thought. We'll see how everything goes with time, but for now, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and put the bell notifications on. This way you know when I post new videos. I'm Jim Leadus, and I'll see you in the next one.